Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars, welcome to another PlayStation review, and today's review is for Mass Effect 3. More specifically, Mass Effect 3 on the Legendary Edition of the Mass Effect Collection. If you've been following the channel, you know that I was really looking forward to the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect. I'm a huge fan of these sequence of games. I have reviewed the first Mass Effect and the second Mass Effect on the Legendary Edition pack on this channel. And this is the natural succession to those reviews. Mass Effect 3. Now, Mass Effect 3, when it was originally released, back in 2012 I believe, is a game I had a huge amount of fun with. Now, at the time, it garnered a lot of praise and some criticism. And I remember some of the criticisms that were sent its way was mainly around the ending. I think some felt a little bit disappointed with the ending that was presented to them. Mainly after the huge build-up over 3 games for a conclusion or a satisfying conclusion of the story, and many felt they didn't get that. And many kind of pointed fingers and said that I think it's 3 different endings that you get are all very similar, really. And they just felt a little bit cheated. Now, I'd never really had a huge issue with the ending of this game. It was never going to be easy to finish this series off, and I was reasonably happy what they gave. And I have to be honest, Mass Effect 3 is actually my favourite Mass Effect game. Most people will look at Mass Effect 2 and say Mass Effect 2 is the best. I agree to a large degree that the second Mass Effect game is a fantastic game in every sense of the word. And I think the reason why people revere that game so much is because it improved on every single area compared to the first game. And it was just a step up in every single department in regards to that game. And the third one wasn't as big a leap in regards to improvements. It kind of didn't really need to. The foundations were there now after the second game to kind of get them to focus more on the story. And the story here is a natural conclusion to the Reaper storyline that we've been presented with in the first 2 games. At the beginning of this game, the Reaper invasion takes place on Earth. You as Shepard, who has been benched after the second game, after some of the controversial decisions he took in the second game, or certainly you may have taken as the Shepard in your game. They attack Earth, and then Shepard is then thrust back into action. He is sent out on the Normandy, and his job then is to go out into the galaxy and find allies against the Reapers. Now, you would think that with this huge extinction level event happening throughout, that all these alien races would come together and fight back, but no, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You as Shepard have to go out and convince them and do things for them in order to get them on side, in order to build this super weapon and fight back against the Reapers. So that's essentially the story. Now, one of the main reasons I love this Mass Effect more than the others is the story. I've always liked these conquest type games, whatever they may be, where you essentially have to go out and gather forces and increase your strength in order to trigger the final aspect of the game for you to be strong enough to proceed to the final chapters of the game, if you like. I've always liked that, and no matter what game is presented, I always like that format. And it works brilliantly well here, I have to say. If you played the second one and enjoyed it, and you've never played the third one, you're not really going to be in for many surprises here. They tweak the menus, they tweak the weapons and the armor. You can now put weapon mods in place and all this kind of stuff. It's a bit easier to buy equipment now. There's a shop on the Normandy rather than travel around to different stations and go to different vendors. Once you find a vendor, if you like, it's then available within the ship, so you don't have to keep traveling around. You've got companions that you'll recognize, old and new. And there's not as many companions this time around as in Mass Effect 2, but I actually don't mind that, because I found the amount of companions in the second one to be a little bit overwhelming, and some of them I didn't really care about too much. So you really just get to focus on a central cast here of characters. Some you'll be familiar with and some that you won't. The story arcs, tied off nicely here. There's some big decisions to make in this game. And the game plays really well. I mean, it looks beautiful. It's easily the most beautiful looking game of the three, even with this new coat of polish on the Legendary Edition. It looks absolutely fantastic now. But it still looked pretty good before, but it looks so much better now. The combat is the slickest it's ever been. There's a verticality as well now to the game, in the sense of you can climb up ladders and you can jump across ledges and things like that. They've tried to make the character a little bit more maneuverable, and they did a natural progression again in Mass Effect Andromeda, where they gave you like the jump pack so that you could jump around and stuff like that. So they really did improve on it. There's loads of epic missions here. Some of them take 5, 10, 15 minutes to complete. Some of them they'll take you a couple of hours to complete. All the DLC that you were presented with on the Mass Effect 3 pack originally is all here. I think it's this one where there was one mission that isn't allowed, that isn't in this, and I forget the reasons why, but it was something to do with the fact that the data was corrupted, so they couldn't transfer it across to the Legendary Edition, something like that anyway. But it wasn't a particularly huge like DLC mission or anything like that. It was only like a bit of a side quest type thing. So I've really thoroughly enjoyed revisiting the Mass Effect franchise. It is epic in scale. All three of them are wonderful to play. Even with the Legendary Edition and the coat of polish that the second and third one got, and almost the pretty much rebuild that the first one got to a large degree. The first one still is the most dated. You can certainly see that when you play it. The third one is like the culmination of a few years' effort trying to perfect the formula, perfect the combat. And it works really well here, and it's a joy to play this. You've got your usual thing, you've got your renegade options and your good options, so that you can be a good shepherd or a bad shepherd. There's bits of armor for you to collect on missions, so that you can customize your armor set. You can again choose your casual set, so that what you're going to walk around in. Yes, there's still romance options. So you can still do all of that. There's a couple of new ones here in this game. So it's really fun to play. I mean, there's not really a huge amount else to say on this game. It kind of speaks for itself. Like I say, I don't particularly mind the ending here. I never find it particularly easy to finish off. How would you satisfyingly finish off a franchise like this? I think they did the best they could, I suppose. The only frustrating aspect to this game really is, I mean, you're travelling around on the galaxy map as usual, and you've got to scan for resources and things. But if you scan too much in one area, then the Reapers will come after you, so you've got to kind of shoot off that map somewhere else. Gets a little bit frustrating, and it feels a little bit tacked on, but it's not. The scanning for resources is nothing like as frustrating as it was in the second game, I suppose. You could even get in these huge like mech suits and occasionally on some missions, and that's really cool, and you feel really powerful there. But ultimately, this is the third game in an incredible franchise. They all kind of sit hand in hand. They all have the strengths and weaknesses, I suppose. For me, I just absolutely love this game. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, which I think is the same score I gave certainly the second one. And even though I've said this is my favourite, they both really stand side by side. I think I prefer the story a little bit more in this one, which is why it's my favourite. But as games go, they're very similar in size and scope. So yeah, fantastic games, 9 out of 10. If you haven't played Mass Effect, you really have no excuse anymore.